Hello and welcome to today's video. In this video I'll be talking about how I got my period back after not having one for 6 years. Yes, you heard that right, 6 years. This video is all about how I regained and regulated my menstrual cycle, speaking about my whole journey, how I lost it, how I regained it, things I did to regain it, as well as just a menstrual cycle 101 kind of video speaking about the menstrual cycle, the hormones, the 4 phases. And at the end of the video, I'll also be answering some questions that were submitted via my Instagram Q&A story feature. So if you're not following me on Instagram, where you can ask me a bunch of questions and get answered in a YouTube video like this, go ahead and follow me at PCOS Oracle. Link in the description box down below. Go ahead and follow me. I really appreciate that. Tons of educational information, free content. Before we get into the video, I just want to introduce myself to anyone who is new to the channel. And before I delve into sharing my story, my name is Despina Pavlou. I'm a certified personal trainer and the founder of PCOS Oracle, where I talk about all things PCOS and how to reverse it naturally. So if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're interested in, then consider subscribing and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload a new video. But anyways, let's jump straight in to the video. So before I share my own period story, regaining my period, let me quickly identify and touch on some of these possible reasons and causes of irregular or lost period. So causes include PCOS, low thyroid function, overexercising, early onset menopause, the birth control pill, an eating disorder, low calorie dieting or low carb dieting or low fat dieting, being a low body weight or being overweight, high stress. A lot of them come down to stress in a form of whether it's restriction through dieting or over exercising and putting a lot of stress on the body through there, or if it's just through increasing estrogen levels in the body, which whether it's through the birth control pill or a low functioning thyroid. And estrogen, as evidence suggests by researchers, estrogen mimics the shock phase in the stress response. So it's pretty much seen as a stress in the body, too much estrogen. So we need to find ways to be lowering the stress in our body, whether it's through doing stuff knowingly, whether we're over-exercising or we're under-eating, or whether we are exposed to too many estrogens, whether we're taking the birth control pill, or whether we are consuming too many phytoestrogens, or we are exposed to synthetic estrogens in the form of the birth control pill. Personal care products, makeup or shampoo or creams or whatever it is, or in your water, or estrogens are pretty much everywhere, and we have to be doing our best to be eliminating the estrogens we're exposed to be minimizing the stress on the body, and to be supporting the thyroid function to be producing progesterone. As I mentioned in my PCOS journey video, which you can click the card here to check that out, I spoke about when I was diagnosed with PCOS at the age of 18. So in that video I also spoke about how I gained my period at a pretty common age. It was 13 or 14, which is pretty common age. So my periods were heavy and very painful, and they were quite irregular. I would skip some months here and there. It was only until college, so around when I was 16 years old, did things begin to change even more with my period. The irregularity became even more irregular. So I attribute this all to chronic long-term stress, the stress of college, personal life, and then with the increase in stress and things going on around in my life, depression, my dietary choices really took a dramatic turn. I went from eating, a healthy, clean kind of lifestyle to more processed and just not thinking about my health and just emotionally eating, overeating, and also not exercising. So since I was a little kid, I've always been super active. I've always played football or soccer, as is said in America, tennis and all kinds of sports, athletics. I was very active growing up until I reached college years where, as I said, super stress, depression, I became very inactive. Couple that with poor nutritional habits, I gained weight, and my hormones started to become out of whack. So as the years went by, during college, during university, it became even more irregular, to the point where I was skipping every single month. It was probably coming maybe 4 times a year. So now this kind of story will overlap with my PCOS video, my PCOS journey video, where I spoke about how I went to my GP after suffering from irregular periods, and I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome because I had high male hormones, testosterone, and cysts on my ovaries. So I was given a birth control pill by my general practitioner, and I took that for 15 months. Didn't work. I ended up, stopping it. Went to an endocrinologist who said to me it's fine if you just have 4 periods a year. I sent me on my way. And then I ended up before that I was, obviously the common consensus recommendations for PCOS is to lose weight, cut carbs, and just exercise. So I began following this kind of recommendations, losing weight, cutting carbs, exercise. So I was implementing all these dietary changes into my life and exercising very regularly, a lot, very intensely as well, to just focus on losing weight, because I thought maybe me losing weight is going to help regulate my period, it's going to help me balance my hormones. Because this is pretty much everything you hear, and there's always these people doctors will tell me just lose weight, and other people just focusing so much on your weight. This whole fixation, and once I began to see the number on the scale go down, I got really obsessed with this and the desire to really restrict and eat super low calories, to the point where all this obsession and restriction and deprivation led me down to develop an eating disorder. So this whole restriction, this super low calorie diet, this eating disorder, deprivation, restriction, all this stress that was put upon my body, extra stress, was obviously led to my period completely disappearing. I had 0 period, nada, zilch, which was, at first I wasn't bothered about not having a period. Like, I always knew having a period was super important when I was younger, but once I reached this mindset of I need to get lean, I need to lose weight, it didn't seem important to me anymore, and I wasn't bothered that I lost it, which is bad. But obviously through this whole not providing my body with nutrients and nourishing it, my period disappeared. It went and it wasn't coming back. And like I said, I wasn't bothered about it because I had this desired goal in my mind, and I was just constantly restricting. So it was up until I watched a YouTube video of someone who was speaking about their eating disorder and how they were trying to regain their period, and they mentioned a book in that video, which is this one right here, Intuitive Eating. This book right here saved my life from my eating disorder and ditching the diet mentality, helping me regain my period. If it wasn't for this book and really learning more about the importance of a period, the importance of hormonal balance, then I probably would still be in that mindset and suffer from an eating disorder. This book definitely really helped me, and I've actually interviewed Elise Resch on the Pieces Oracle podcast. Click the card here to listen to it. I highly recommend it if you're suffering from an eating disorder and you want to break free. And it did take time. It wasn't like I read this book, and then the next day I was fine. It was a process, it took time. So, intuitive eating really helped me nourish myself again and break, ditch all those rules associated with food and focusing on having to be a certain size. It just really opened things up and showed me how dieting is just digging you deep into a hole. And I just had this desire, this motivation inside of me to do whatever it took to get my period back. So let's get into what I personally did to regain my period. So I was doing a lot of research into what can cause a lost period, like what is going on, when your body's in a state of stress, when you're undernourishing yourself, when you're over-exercising, all this is stress on the body. And obviously, when you think about it like this, if we are not nourishing ourselves with enough food, if we're in a state of stress, if our body thinks we're on high alert, this is not a time to reproduce, our reproductive functions are the first thing to get shut off. So always remember, if you're not feeding yourself enough food for yourself, for you to thrive and feel, a lot of energy, have no symptoms of, thyroid issues, how are you going to nourish and grow a living baby inside of you? So what did I do to help regain my period? Backtracked. And I looked at my whole journey to the point where I lost it. During college, where I was super stressed and not eating well and not exercising, all these kind of set me down of, not nourishing myself with nutrient-dense foods, healthy foods. I was super stressed, which is obviously you're then converting progesterone into cortisol. And then obviously got to the point of my eating disorder. And so I'm going to break down how I regain my period into two main headings: diet and lifestyle. Now within diet, it's nutrition, so what we're eating, and then supplements come within them. Lifestyle includes exercise, sleep, and stress management. So within the diet category component, I was eating more food. To regain a period after losing it, you have to pretty much eat the amount of calories you were eating before you lost it. So I was aiming to eat 2,000 calories and above to help regain my period. In addition to eating more calories, I was eating more frequently. So I was eating every 3 to 4 hours to support blood sugar balance and my thyroid. So, and I was eating wherever I wanted. I was following intuitive eating at this point. So I wasn't, labeling foods as, I can't eat a chocolate, I can't eat this, and I can't eat that. And there was no labeling. I ate whatever I wanted. I also included some supplements at this point as well. I included ashwagandha to help me manage my stress levels. I also included magnesium, B6, and vitamin E. We'll move on to lifestyle. Exercise was the biggest thing I had to address as well. I was over-exercising, not taking rest days. The intensity was way too high, which we know. High intensity significantly increases cortisol levels. So if I wanted to regain my period, I had to bring back cortisol. I had to lower cortisol significantly. So I cut back on the amount of exercise I was doing and in the intensity. I was pretty much walking more and doing resistance training 3 to 4 times a week. For about 45 minutes to an hour. The second category in the lifestyle section is stress management. Now these are just doing things that will help me manage the stress that I was exposing myself to. So this could include, meditation and just doing things that bring me laughter and relaxation. The third category in the lifestyle section is sleep. And to a lot of people, sleep isn't a priority, but it should be. If we're not sleeping, then we're not, resting. Those 8 to 9 hours, however long you sleep, are critical. This is when your body's pretty much recovering. So if you're not giving your body adequate amount of rest and you're not sleeping at a good time, which I recommend between 10 and 11 p.m. So I was making sleep a priority. I was making sure I was getting at least between 7 to 8 to 9 hours sleep. And I was just trying to get in bed between 10:30, no later than 11. I was in bed to really get on that quality sleep. And the final component strategy that I actually want to mention, which I think is also important when you're looking to regain your period, is the mindset. There was a lot of times that I thought I was just going to give up, and I was kind of getting the support and the reassurance from people around me that I should keep going. It's going to happen. You just have to be patient. So mindset really does play a big role, because if your mind's not in the game, then you're not going to do the things that you need to do. Your mind really is fundamental. Now, the average length of the menstrual cycle varies between woman to woman. The average is 28 days. So every 28 days, you get a period. But somewhere between 21 is perfectly fine. Anywhere between these ranges, any longer than 35 days, then it's irregular. The ideal length of the bleed of your period should be between 3 to 5 days. Not more than a 7-day bleed where you're bleeding for weeks on end. Now, another popular question is, well, what colour should my period be? Well, you actually want your period colour to be cranberry red. Cranberry red. That's the colour. You don't want yellow, you don't want black, you don't want a browny colour or purple colour. You want cranberry red. That kind of lightish kind of red. Last thing about the period facts is the amount of blood that should be lost. Like, how much should you be losing? Like, what's a healthy kind of amount? Can you guess? 6 to 8 teaspoons. That's how much you should be losing. Period pain / PMS is not normal. So the follicular phase is where FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, stimulates the growth of follicles in the ovaries that contain the eggs. So as these follicles grow, estrogen levels increase. Now, the increase in estrogen sends a message to the pituitary gland to stop producing FSH and now produce LH, which is luteinizing hormone. And then this causes luteinizing hormone to spike. So during the follicular phase, estrogen is the dominant hormone between progesterone and estrogen. So as you can see here, luteinizing hormone spikes, triggering the release of an egg, and this is known as ovulation. So ovulation is the star of the show. It's what helps us produce progesterone, which is anti-androgenic, anti-estrogenic, pro-thyroid, anti-inflammatory, and obviously with progesterone will help us balance out the effects of excess estrogen and help us with these PMS symptoms. But you can have a period without ovulating, and this is what we call anovulatory cycles. But like I said, we need to be ovulating to be producing progesterone. So ovulation tends to occur between day 14 and day 16. But this can depend person to person, so it's important to be tracking certain things. And these markers that you can be tracking to see if you have ovulated is an increase in your basal body temperature, cervical mucus, cervical position, and an increase in libido. Now, ovulation occurs 24 to 36 hours after the surge in luteinizing hormone, and this is a woman's most fertile days. Moving on to luteal phase, this is where the egg that is released creates a temporary structure called the corpus luteum. And the corpus luteum releases an enzyme called P450SCC, which helps to convert cholesterol to pregnenolone and then pregnenolone into progesterone. During the luteal phase, estrogen and luteinizing hormone start to dip, and progesterone becomes the dominant hormone in this phase. If no implantation is occurred, if the egg isn't fertilized, then the corpus luteum degenerates halfway through the luteal phase. The decrease in estrogen and progesterone, if no implantation is occurred, is like a feedback kind of loop to the pituitary gland to release gonadotropin releasing hormone, which will and FSH to bring in a new cycle and for the bleed. So then we start all over again. But if conception does take place and the egg is fertilized, then a hormone called HGC takes over from luteinizing hormone in order to maintain the corpus luteum. Now, as I mentioned, ovulation is the star of the show when it comes to the menstrual cycle. It's the way we make progesterone, which, as I keep speaking about, is super important. The cycle, we need to be producing progesterone. But having the bleed, benefit of the actual bleed, the period, is that this is how we detox iron. We have an iron recycling system, RES, that is able to, detox or remove 24 to 25 milligrams of iron in the body. Another way is through giving blood. That's another great way of getting rid of the iron, especially if you're not having a monthly bleed. But this is why it's so important to be having a period. Some of the dietary things we could do is to consume more saturated fats over unsaturated fats. So no PUFAs. These are pro-estrogenic, inflammatory. Choosing saturated fats like coconut oil are pro-thyroid. We want to be making sure we're getting our new vitamins and minerals. Now, I spoke about all these things in my Foods on PCOS video, which I highly recommend you watch, and in my PCOS journey video. Some vitamins and minerals include vitamin A, E. These help the thyroid convert pregnenolone into progesterone, as well as minerals like magnesium, calcium, sodium, and potassium. We want to be eating foods like liver, gelatin, bone broth, carrots, eggs, fruit. Those are some of the really good foods that we could be eating. Oh, in addition is dairy. Another kind of food that is, controversial because people are like, oh, this is a bad food, but that research has shown can help, is caffeine, so coffee. Coffee has been found to be pro-thyroid. It can help with increasing progesterone and pregnenolone. To wrap up the video, like I said, I want to answer some of those questions that were left in the Q&A box on my Instagram stories. So let's go ahead and check them out. One of the first questions was about topical progesterone, and the question was when to take and when not to take it. Now, when it comes to progesterone, there isn't any evidence to suggest that there's any side effects to taking it. But hormone is a hormone and you shouldn't be taken lightly. You want to make sure that you are being smart with it, being cautious. So you should take topical progesterone from the last half of your cycle, from when you would naturally ovulate up until your period. Another question was, how long should I wait for my period to return before seeking medical help? So this is really something you have to be honest with yourself. If you've tried everything, if you have no idea why it's not coming, then you visit your doctor. If there's no point of prolonging it, if you've tried everything, it's not coming, and you have no idea why it's not coming, visit your doctor, get a blood test, speak with someone, get the support, the guidance to figure out what is going on. Another question was, is it really true that not bleeding 3 to 4 times a year increases risk of cancer? So here's the thing, when we're not ovulating, when we're not producing progesterone to counteract estrogen, estrogen is a cell proliferator, it creates growth. So, if we're not having progesterone to counteract estrogen, then it increases the risk of cancers. So we need to be making sure that we're producing progesterone to help oppose estrogen. Moving on. Is it true that reflexology can help to get a better cycle? So I had to do some research into this because I never really heard of reflexology. It wasn't something I've, looked into. So I did do a bit of research into it. So essentially reflexology, for anybody who might not know, is where you apply pressure to certain parts of your body, like your hands or your feet, and it kind of mirrors certain functions of your organs, like your ovaries or uterus. So the theory is that these areas are blocked and it can help hormonal balance. There is no actual scientific evidence to support this reflexology to help stimulate your period, but there is some studies that show that reflexology can actually help with PMS. So there was some evidence to suggest that reflexology can bring relief to PMS symptoms, but I couldn't find anything to suggest that it can help with regaining a period. But when I was doing research on YouTube videos as well, I read tons of comments where people did this and 2 days later, a day later, their period came. So there's no harm in trying. So yeah, there's no scientific evidence. There's no harm in trying, but I really recommend really just focusing on your diet, your lifestyle, and really supporting each phase of your cycle, your hormones, through diet and lifestyle changes. Next question. I'm 42, no period since my last child 8 years ago. Any hope, lost cause? So like I mentioned, there are different causes for irregular lost periods. So I think it's really important that you really be honest with yourself, backtrack and look at what's going on in your life. What kind of stresses are you exposed to? Are you nourishing your body? Are you eating nutrient-dense foods? Are you sleeping? How's your thyroid? Is it functioning optimally? Are you detoxing? How's your liver function? Are you detoxing estrogen? Are estrogen levels high? Are you suffering from any estrogen dominant symptoms? So I suggest looking at your estrogen, your thyroid function, liver function, how your gut is working, if you're detoxifying estrogen from the body, if your thyroid is functioning properly, supporting the thyroid through pro-metabolic and pro-thyroid foods, sleeping, and making sure your overall stress is low, so you're not overexercising, you're nourishing your body with nutrient-dense foods, and you're just working with your body. Next question. Tracking BBT throughout cycle temps are sporadic. Any way to level them out? So when it comes to body temperature, it's really important to be supporting the thyroid. Thyroid is super important. It all comes down to the thyroid. Normal temperature can range between 97.8 to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So sporadic or low body temperatures could be a sign of a stress on the body. So I recommend looking at your thyroid, blood sugar balance, and your adrenals. I would also recommend focusing on good nutrition, so pairing protein and carbs, making sure that you're eating every 3 to 4 hours to keep blood sugar balance stable. Make sure that you're consuming your protein, carbs, and exercise can lower our body temperature. So I would recommend that you're exercising between 30 to 45 minutes every 3 to 4, maybe 5 times a week, depending on your circumstances, your situation, because we're all different. This is why I cannot provide personalized recommendations in this video. So those are things I would suggest focusing on looking at. I would also recommend avoiding polyunsaturated fats, PUFAs, because they can also lower your body temperature because they inhibit energy production and at the cellular level, and the immune system. Now, I also want to mention quickly on the topic of body temperature. When we're looking at ovulation, our body temperature, our basal body temperature increases by 0.6 to 1 degree. So when you're looking to track ovulation and if progesterone is being produced, you want to be looking out for that slight increase in your body temperature. There's not a lot of an increase, it's just a small one, but 0.6 to 1 degree. Another question, what can I do to make my period regular? They will ask about acupuncture. So again, with acupuncture, I feel like there's not a lot of research into it, but there is some. The way it works is that it's suggested that it can help with increasing blood flow to the ovaries and to the uterus. So just like reflexology, I guess there's no harm in doing acupuncture and trying it. I know a lot of people that have tried it and it has helped. So there's no harm in trying, but I always recommend focusing on the diet and the lifestyle things predominantly, and this can just be like an added component just to help with relaxation, to help with the blood flow, the communication between the brain and the ovaries. So the final kind of common question I was getting was when your period will be like regular and then it'll be irregular. So it will come pretty consistently for a couple of months and maybe skip and then it will come again. And here I'll just suggest that it all comes back down to stress. What has changed in your life that has caused your period to be lost again? So backtrack and look, did you undernourish yourself? Are you not eating enough? Are you not sleeping? Are you over-exercising? What's triggering the stress? What has changed in your diet and lifestyle that is, I guess, a stress in your life, on your body, that has caused you to lose your period? So that's the end of the video. I really hope that you gained some value from today's video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you learned something, and I hope that my story and inspires you and motivates you that you can regain your period, no matter how long it's been. Mine was 6 years. So I hope this gives you the motivation that you can regain it if you're just consistent. If you're honest and you know what's going on. If you know, I'm a bit stressed, I'm not eating enough, I'm over-exercising, then you're honest with yourself and you address these issues. Without being honest with yourself, the things will never get fixed. So I really hope that this helped you. If you're looking for some support, some accountability, I do offer one-on-one coaching where I do help many women regain their period. So if you want some accountability, if you want some support, if you want me to help you understand and figure out how to approach regain your period, what strategies you can implement in your life, a personalized plan created just for you, then check out my website, pcsosauracle.com. I have the link in the description box down below, where you can check out my coaching programs and or book a consultation with me, and we can discuss what you can do to help regain your period, balance your hormones, and feel great again. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give the video a like, comment if you found this video valuable, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe for plenty more videos. Catch you in the next one.